for my brother. I got you out. Why did you come back?
We're hiding, and hiding ain't living. If we're gonna stop your brother, I'm gonna need the old you, not the realtor.
I told myself that I would never hurt anyone again.
Hey, are you all right?
I'm in the middle of a high-intensity yoga. Can you give me a minute? I'm so sorry.
I really feel like I have to say that to Ki-Hoo Kwan. I'm so sorry for what I'm about to say about your movie. But this week on Talking About the Movies, he teams up with Ariana DeBose. Both of them recently won Academy Awards. As they team up with David Leitch, the man who gave us the John Wick movies, The Fall Guy, and Violent Night, for the new action comedy, Love Hurts. And let me tell you, it's going to hurt what I have to say about this movie after how I was so looking forward to this trailer, but the film, not so much. We'll talk about that one. Plus...
Have you ever felt like you were so close to having it all? But there was one little secret.
You look so beautiful.
Yeah, it's probably because I'm pregnant. You lost control of.
Oh, how dare you walk around with that fake fucking belly?
What am I gonna do?
This one, I probably should have known better on, considering that Amy Schumer hasn't done anything of noteworthiness since Trainwreck 10 years ago. But Amy Schumer is back, this time teaming up with Adam Sandler to produce her latest film, Kinda Pregnant. So prepare for a lot of disappointments, a disappointing double feature this week, here on Talking About the Movies. And welcome to Talking About the Movies, where we're celebrating 20 years of me covering the biggest new releases of the weekend. And we're going to do that this week, but... as you can tell by the way I am acting and sounding, yeah, this is another one. This is one of those rare weekends where the movies that we're taking a look at were not only bad movies, but they were, I guess we can call this episode overall the disappointments episode, because when you really think about it, disappointment is all over these movies that I'm going to talk about here, because you have two movies with a couple of very promising actors involved in them. Some of them have won Academy Awards, some of them have garnered fame because of their work in the past, you know, and then nowadays they've started movies where they are not very good, or they have gotten worse and worse with every passing film that they do. And the two movies that we have here are definitely examples of movies featuring people who have been in much better stuff before, but man, it's like it never ends with these people. And I don't want to criticize the actors themselves, but I am going to criticize the scripts that they take, because, good lord, these movies that I'm going to talk about here are pretty bad. And I think we should start off with easily the biggest disappointment of the entire weekend. This movie, I was so looking forward to this movie when I saw the trailer for it a couple months ago, and boy, it let me down big time. So, let's get to it, and it's appropriately titled, too, because you know what? Love Hurts. Yes, Love Hurts indeed. A movie that had a really cool, promising-looking trailer early on, but just like with Universal's other big disappointment so far this year, Wolfman, the movie itself is nowhere near as good as the promise that the film could have. And you have a story here where you have Ki-Hoo Kwan from, of course, Everything Everywhere All at Once, where he won the Academy Award for that. But, of course, everyone remembers him from Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom and The Goonies. And he plays a realtor who's pulled back into the life he left behind after a former partner in crime, played by Ariana DeBose, resurfaces with an ominous message. His crime lord brother, played by Daniel Wu, also is on his trail, and he must confront his past and the history he never fully buried. And, like I said, a lot of the pieces were coming together for something that I thought I was going to love. I mean, look, I like anything involving David Leitch. David Leitch is one of the producers on this movie. Of course, he's the guy behind some really good action movies recently. The John Wick films, of course, Bullet Train, Nobody, Violent Night. You know, he just recently did The Fall Guy, which I thought was a great film. And, you know, this is a film that's directed by one of his stunt coordinators, Jonathan Izubio, who's making his directorial debut on this film. And, you know, Ki-Hoo Kwan and Ariana DeBose are two really good actors. They won Academy Awards back-to-back with West Side Story and Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, who could forget that moment when Ariana DeBose presented Ki-Hoo Kwan with his Oscar in 2022?
And the Oscar goes to... Ki-Hoo Kwan.
I mean, these two should have great chemistry together and should make the movie work on its own. And, yeah, they're the best things about the film, But unfortunately, everything else about the movie is just such a massive disappointment everywhere around this film. Like, it pains me to say how bad this movie is, but this is really a contender for one of the worst movies of the year so far. And yeah, it's hard for me to say that because of what the people involved in this, but my God, this is an absolutely abysmal film. Now, let me just talk about some of the positives, because there are positives to the film. And like I said, the biggest positive I could take away from this is that the movie isn't bad because of Ki Hu Kwan and Ariana DeBose. I like them both in this movie. I think their chemistry overall works very well, even though their story on how they're a couple is not well put together at all. But when these two are on screen working off each other, they're the best part of the movie, easily, no question about it. There's nothing that I could say bad about these two people that, in terms of how they're giving it their all in this movie. Because yeah, of the bad films that Ariana DeBose has done since he's won West Side Story, this is probably one of the lesser bad ones. But then again, she's been involved in some really bad movies. In fact, I'm gonna do a video coming up later in the year talking about 3 specific actors that I've seen where they've had a lot of promise early on in their careers, but they just keep taking one bad movie after another. And of course, talking about DeBose being one of them, but also Glenn Powell and Sydney Sweeney. Really good actors, but they all pick really bad movies. And Ariana DeBose, I'm sad to say, is taking the route of, she's taken the route of Louis Gossett Jr. Not a bad actor by any means necessary, and he won an Oscar, rightfully so, for his work in An Officer and a Gentleman. But he just kept picking bad movie after bad movie, one after another, and just took away a lot of his credibility overall. Even though he's a damn good actor and he's proven it in a lot of great films. What has Ariana DeBose done since West Side Story? She's done stuff like ISS, which is a film that nobody remembers and nobody ever says you should check it out. Wish, which everybody does not like, and even though I'm one of the few people that actually will defend that movie, it's the lesser of the Disney movies that we've gotten in the first half of the 2020s. But she stars in Argyle, which is one of the worst movies from last year. She's in Kraven the Hunter, which was a bad movie. And now you have this movie here that is a complete and utter mess of a film. For the love of God, Ariana, I am begging you, and I think a lot of people who are rooting for you are begging you to please fire your agent or fire the person who's giving you these terrible scripts, because good Lord, you are ruining your credibility as an actress overall with these choices here. Because man, you have taken what you took of. You were great in West Side Story. I love that movie. It's one of my favorite movies of the decade so far, and it works because of it's one of the reasons why it works is because of that great performance she gives in the film. But man, everything she's done since then has either been a big disappointment or just a complete and utter failure of a movie. And sadly, the trend continues here. Somebody needs to get this woman a better agent or a better person to find her scripts, because she's going to destroy her career if she keeps going down this path going forward. But I'm not going to say the same for Ki Hu Kwan just yet, because this is his first major leading role in a movie. I mean, really ever. I mean, he's had supporting performances back in the day in The Goonies and also in Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. And, of course, he was in Everything Everywhere All at Once. But this is really his first major leading film role, as far as I know. But, I'm not going to say that for him just yet, because he still has a lot of time to pick some good movie roles. And he has picked some decent film roles as of late. I thought he was good in Kung Fu Panda 4. And I think he'll be good in Zootopia 2. But, I'm not going to say that he should go down the same path as Ariana DeBose and fire his agent just yet. It just depends on, if he's going to be given better film roles in general. Not to say that this isn't a bad film role in general. I think this is a film that's clearly being made in the same vein as those 90s Jackie Chan movies, stuff like Rumble in the Bronx, Jackie Chan's First Strike, Mr. Nice Guy, Twin Dragons. Like films that really do show truly what makes Jackie Chan so special and so credible as an action star overall. And you could tell they're doing just that here. But it leads into a lot of the problems with the film itself. For one, there's 3 basic problems that come into play with this particular film. Number one, the fight choreography really is not that good. And for this movie to come from somebody who's a stunt coordinator and is somebody that has worked with David Leitch, creating some of the most impressive stunt work in movies in the last 10 years, I expect a whole lot better from this film in general, but it's just not there. 2, the script really is a cluttered mess of a movie, but it leads into probably the biggest problem I have with the film. I'll talk about that in a second, but yeah, like, the script is way too... The script doesn't really have a good indication of what kind of a movie it wants to be. There are very much convoluted storylines going on here. There's subplots that keep getting added into this, and it's just... There's nothing of value in this film that really makes it worth it in the scriptwriting department that makes it stand out on its own by any means necessary. Really, the biggest problem with the entire movie comes down to the editing and also the runtime. Keep in mind, this is a movie that is only 83 minutes long. And when I saw that earlier in the week, it's just like, why is this movie only an hour and 20 minutes long? I mean, this is a movie, this is an action comedy, and you would think it would be a little bit longer than that. Maybe a little over 2 hours. But no, it's an hour and 23 minutes. I was thinking to myself, why is this like this? But then when you see the movie, you start to realize why, because the editing is so chopped up, and there are stories that are getting cut down, and the action sequences are poorly edited, and this thing's moving at way too much of a fast pace, and it ruins the film overall. That's where the film really starts to crumble, is in the editing process, because good lord, the way they edit some of this is just some of the worst editing I've seen in an action film, and it just makes me think to myself that this is probably a cut down version that the studio forced them to do. Maybe when we get this movie on Blu-ray, there'll be a director's cut edition or an uncut edition that is longer and actually has much more to tell about the movie. This is just wishful thinking on my part, but it's just hard not to think that when you see a movie like this that's only an hour and 23 minutes long, and the product we get here just feels like it's incredibly chopped up. It feels like it's an incredible mess across the board. Like, something's not right in Denmark is what I'm trying to say about this movie. But unfortunately, I have to look at the film as it is, and as it is, yeah, it's not a very good movie. In fact, it's definitely one of the biggest disappointments I've had in a long, long time. It's a really terrible film. It wastes good performances by Kwan and DeBose, who I think are trying to carry this as much as they can, but it's just not enough to carry the load here. And it sucks because the comedy isn't that funny. The action sequences are not that impressive overall. The visual is like the jokes and all that, like I said, the jokes and the action aren't that great, and the editing is just abysmal. It's a movie that should not be under an hour and a half long. This is one of those times when I would say a movie like this deserves to be a whole lot longer, because there is clearly a much better movie in that stuff that they cut down, because it's not showing up here on screen, and it's not working on screen what they have here. So, wishful thinking makes me think that this movie has a cut somewhere where we actually get to see the good stuff, and it will be kind of like hopefully it'll have somewhat of a cult following if we get that unrated, if we get that stuff in a director's cut version of it. But then again, I probably realize that that's more wishful thinking on my part, because with the way that this film is playing and how it's getting reception from most people, there's not going to be that much of a high demand for this overall for an extended cut of this movie. And because of that, this is probably the only thing we've got. And unfortunately, because of that, I fortunately have to give this movie a thumbs down, a big thumbs down, because yeah, this is definitely one of the biggest disappointments of the year, and probably one of the worst movies of the year, for a film that I had so much high hopes going into it with the people involved, but the finished product is what it is, and yeah, it's not a good movie at all. So yeah, a hard skip on Love Hurts, and it pains me to say that because I was so looking forward to it. I wanted to see these two actors really star in a good movie, and a good action movie, especially from the guys who made Violent Night, which was one of the best Christmas movies I've seen of recent years. And this is the same guy that's been behind a lot of good action movies lately, but this is one of the rare stumbles that this team has made, and it pains me to say that because, like I said, I was really looking forward to seeing what this turned out to be a good movie, and it just doesn't work. It's a disappointment on all levels, and yeah, I was really let down by it big time. So that is Love Hurts, and yeah, that's how I feel about this movie. Love Hurts. It hurts me to say that this movie is terrible, but not so much the next movie we have here, which is a film that pretty much seemed like it was dead on arrival, but I wanted to give it a fair shot because I do like the actress that's involved in it, the comedian that's involved in it, because she was in some early stuff that I did like. But as we've seen since after 2015's Trainwreck, Amy Schumer's career has not taken the best direction. And now, what do you do to try to fix that? Go team up with Adam Sandler for another one of his terrible comedies he's produced. Yes, this is a Happy Madison production, and this is, of course, Kinda Pregnant, which is a film that dropped on Netflix this week. And honestly, I should have known going in this was probably not going to be good. And yeah, the end result speaks for itself. Amy Schumer stars as a woman named Lainey, and when her plan to settle down and start a family falls apart, she decides to put on a fake baby bump, tell a lie, and accidentally falls for her dream guy. Yeah, a pretty inventive plot if you were not around to see Labor Pains with Lindsay Lohan back in 2000. Was it 2009 or 2012? But no, there was literally a movie called Labor Pains, which was literally the same concept. It was literally the same plot. Like, I'm looking at it right now. And you want to know what the plot synopsis of this movie was? If it will load. Yeah, here we go. Thea Clayhill, played by Lindsay Lohan, is the reckless secretary of an arrogant publisher, and when Jerry fires her having had an accident with his beloved dog, Thea lies and tells her that she is 4 months pregnant. Thea lost her parents in a car accident and raises her younger sister Emma alone and cannot afford to lose her job. Jerry goes on vacation to be with the dog, and his brother, Nick Steinwald, assumes his position. Thea decides to fake her pregnancy for more time with the support of her friend Lisa. This is literally the same plot that this Amy Schumer movie does, and I've never seen this movie Labor Pains, but judging by what I just saw with this movie here, it can't be any worse than this movie was, that this Amy Schumer film was, because at least that one seems like it was going through a straightforward plot overall. It wasn't intending to go for something like gross out humor, but no. Not with this movie. This is a film that literally has shown that Amy Schumer was a one-trick pony when she made Trainwreck back in 2015, because that was a great movie that came out that year. But what has she done since then that has actually been any good? And I liked Amy Schumer. I liked her comedy in Inside Amy Schumer. But ever since then, stuff that she did since then has not been that great. Snatch, that movie with Goldie Hawn. I guess Thank You for Your Service, she wasn't that bad, and seeing a more dramatic role out of her. But then she goes and does I Feel Pretty, which was a lackluster film. Bros, she has a little cameo in that film. Unfrosted, she's not that great in that film overall, but if she's in the If for a little bit, she wasn't that bad to me. But yeah, this is a movie that really just shows that ship has sailed with the quality that Amy Schumer used to bring to the table. Even though I haven't seen is that show she did for Hulu with Michael Cera, which I actually heard was pretty good. What was it called? It was called Life and Beth, which, yeah, I've heard that show's actually not that bad, but other than that, though, I have not seen anything of her of noteworthiness since Trainwreck that actually was a great film. This was definitely not one of those films. This is a film that just feels like they just really had no other ideas and just said, hey, I've got an idea. This Lindsay Lohan movie called Labor Pains exists. Let's make that film, and let's make it a film, and let's make it even more obnoxious and more on a level of gross out humor. And granted, there's not that much gross out humor here, but it really isn't. It's not even that bad on the same level of a bad Happy Madison movie is. It's just bad on the level of something that you can tell they're trying to do something here. They're trying to come up with a hook to this movie to give it kind of an edge. It's trying to do it for more dramatic elements to it, but it's just not there, man. And it just feels it's more dull than it is it's more bad. Like, it's a bad movie, but nothing really happens in the movie. And by the time I got to the hour mark, I was just bored by it, man. It's just like, come on, get to something, anything. Just give me something about you here. And there's just nothing there. And, like, here's the thing. Adam Sandler's name is on this movie. He's one of the producers. And it's not to say that Adam Sandler hasn't made bad stuff as of late. He's actually made more better movies now that he's on Netflix than he was when he was making movies at Sony that went to theaters. I mean, there's been some good stuff here and there. Hustle was pretty good. I liked what he did with Spaceman. I thought he was good in Leo. I thought he was good in You're Still Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah. Like, every once in a while, he'll do one of these bad comedies where he's producing it, but this isn't even that bad on the level of those movies, like a really bad Happy Madison movie. Nothing really happens in this movie that makes it worth it. it's more bad because it's boring, it's dull, it really has nothing of value there whatsoever. The jokes are lame, the writing is not that clever at all. There's just nothing there that makes it funny or worthwhile in the long run. And to me, that's where the film really stumbles to take off and really goes anywhere. And it just really stumbles big time when in the worst possible areas to do it in. And it's just like, just give me something, man. I want to go along for the ride on this. And nope, this is just the standard with her, Amy Schumer now. Just do something that with half the effort and see if people will go and see it. And yeah, this is the end result of it. But yeah, I think you can pretty much tell where my thumb is going down on this one. Thumbs down on this one. Kind of Pregnant. Bad movie. Another contender for one of the worst movies of the year. One more note on Kind of Pregnant I did not mention here, and it's probably something that should be mentioned. This director, Tyler Spindell, guess what relation he has to Adam Sandler? He's his nephew. Adam Sandler is his uncle. So, and he's already directed 3 other movies that were not that good: Father of the Year, The Wrong Missy, and The Outlaws. So common sense would probably tell you that maybe this is not a director that should be involved, that you should not be expecting a lot of good things from. And this is a guy who graduated from Harvard, too. And there's been some funny people that came out of Harvard, like Conan O'Brien. But how does a guy from Harvard go from going from Harvard to directing these lesser movies, man? Like, this is... like, it's inexcusable. And this is big. And I thought Adam Sandler was done with his nepotism stuff, but then again, maybe I was wrong on that front. Maybe I was just taken away by the fact that You Were So Not Invited to My Bar Mitzvah was actually kind of a decent film. And maybe he gets away from that. But nope, not in this case. Not in this case at all. So that's all I got to say about that film. Overall, pretty bad weekend for the movies. But then again, what do you expect on Super Bowl weekend? Nobody really ever tries to put anything big out there. And even when they do, it's never usually a big hit, unfortunately. Even no matter how good it is. But that is kind of where we're stuck in right now. Usually it's the last couple of years, this time of the year has gotten a lot better for movies, but yeah, we're kind of in the doldrums right now until we get to the stuff that the studios actually believe in, which we will get into next week, because next week, of course, is the big release of Captain America: Brave New World, with Anthony Mackie reprising the role of Captain America in that film, and Harrison Ford as President Thunderbolt Ross, who will become the Red Hulk. And it should be a good movie. I would think it would be a good movie. I think there's things about it that could be really entertaining, but you know, we had Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania 2 years ago, which I thought was going to be a good movie, and it just not so much. But I'm hoping for the best with Captain America: Brave New World. I need something to, after this disappointment of a weekend, I need something to get excited about, for God's sakes. But we'll see if that actually happens. Next week we'll take a look at that film, and if you like what you see and you want to see more videos like this particular one, check out my reviews for both Dogman and Star Trek Section 31 that I did last week, and also hit the playlist to check out some of the other episodes I did. So it's one of the rare episodes where you see disappointments all across the board, bad movies in general. I thought this was a rarity for me, but turns out this is something that's happened once in the last couple of years. So the fact that we're already in February and I already have a weekend where there's 2 bad movies we've looked at, probably not a good sign for the rest of the year. Or maybe it is a good sign for the rest of the year. Maybe the rest of the films that come out in 2025 will be good movies, and ones that I won't be so pissed off about. Again, wishful thinking on my part, but we will see. But like I said, thank you guys so much for watching this and enjoying this, and I hope you did enjoy it. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe button, notification button, and the bell. You hit that, you get updates on when new videos come out. We do post every day. And with that said, I'll see you guys next week. So, enjoy your Super Bowl. Have a good Valentine's Day. I'll see you guys next week. Take care.